Hey there everybody, I'm Pete Burak and welcome to Cathlist. The Catholic Church has patron saints of things. Saints we call upon as heavenly advocates for certain areas of life. Occupations, illnesses, churches, places. Sometimes they're chosen because of a particular interest, talent, or event in their lives overlaps with a certain occupation. St. Peter was a fisherman, so he became the patron saint of fishermen and fish net makers. St. Francis of Sales was a writer, so he is now honored as the patron saint of journalists and writers. There you go. What's your talent? Maybe someday you can be the patron saint of something random, since we're all called to be saints. Like wasps. And yes, there is a patron saint of wasps. Saint Friard was a hermit in France in the 500s, and when he was maliciously tormented for his piety, a cloud of wasps attacked his bullies, until Friard prayed for them, and the wasps left. So don't mess with that guy. And that's only one of the 9 patron saints of really random things we'll be talking about today, so stick around. If you plan on going spelunking anytime soon, you might want to check in with Benedict of Nursa, modern-day Norcia, since, after all, he's the patron saint of spelunking. He and his twin sister, Saint Scholastica, you may remember her, was born to a Christian noble family in Norcia, Italy in the 5th century. He pursued academia, but soon realized how corrupt and unchristian his teachers were, so he turned to religious life instead. For a while, he was a hermit and lived, guess where? A cave, for a time. Ergo, patron saint of spelunking. He really should be the patron saint of bats and claustrophobia. Die, spawn of Satan! Saint Clotilde, Queen of the Franks, is the patron saint of difficult children. She and her husband Clovis founded the Merovingian dynasty that lasted for over 200 years. When Clovis died, however, her children quarreled relentlessly over the kingdom, causing her great sorrow for the rest of her life. And now I'd like to take a moment to say, Mother, I'm sorry. Saint Bibiana, martyred in the late 400s, is the patroness of people with hangovers. Not that I know what those are. Bibiana lived during the 4th century Christian persecution in Rome and was tortured to death by a sadistic woman named Rufina, who went so far as to force Bibiana to drink molten lead. That is an intense way to die. And as honoring her, we give her the patron saint of hangovers because we get headaches. Jesus, if I was Saint Bibiana, I'd be like, you do not know what a headache is. I know what a headache is. Speaking of booze, Saint Arnold of Soissons is the patron saint of hops pickers, gotta be careful how you say that, and brewers. He was a hermit for a time, but eventually became the abbot of a Benedictine abbey in Soissons, France. There he brewed beer that eventually ended up sparing many of the local villagers from the Black Plague, which was partially spread through the water supply. Beer, having been boiled, was free of those pathogens. So the people, drinking the beer instead of water, weren't affected by the plague. Moral of the story, beer saves lives. But don't think you can just use that as an excuse now, be like, I'm saving myself from the Black Plague. And then you end up praying to Saint Bibiana because you have a hangover. Pope Saint Cornelius was a Roman priest who was elected to the papacy during a lull in the Decian persecution. He was beheaded for his faith in 253 and is now the patron saint of twitching. Gross. And kind of fitting. Polycarp or Smyrna, let's just take a second to acknowledge that Polycarp is an awesome name. That should be my second son's name. This is my son Donovan, and this is my son Polycarp. We love them equally. He's known for his letter to the early church in Philippi, and he is the patron saint of dysentery. We're not exactly sure why, but we're certainly glad to have him. Drogo,
I must break you.
No, not that one, was an orphan, hermit, and shepherd who suffered from an unsightly bodily affliction and is the patron saint of those whom others find repulsive. Sadly, he was also named the patron saint of those who suffer insanity because at the age of 10, he learned that his mother had died giving birth to him, a knowledge that emotionally crushed him. Because of this and his deformity, he built a hut in northern France and lived there as a hermit for 40 years. He's also the patron saint of coffee house owners. You're going to have to figure that one out. And finally, for now, a saint I'm sure all college students have called upon at some point, knowingly or not, except that college students probably aren't praying much these days. Saint Vitus, a Sicilian who was martyred under the persecution by Diocletian and Maximian, and he is the patron saint of oversleeping. He was martyred by being thrown into a vat of boiling oil. A rooster was thrown in with him as part of a ritual against sorcery, and the rooster's connection with early rising led to Saint Vitus's patronage, which again, crazy, epic death, boiling oil, and we're like, hey, oversleeping because of a rooster because the Romans are crazy? That's all the time we have for now, folks. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Cathlist. As always, there are links in the description and outtakes at the end of the videos, which apparently are like people's favorite part. So stick around for those two, because if you can't laugh at me, who can you laugh at? Subscribe to our channel to see more videos like this. Click here to learn about Ave Maria Radio, and click here to learn about the young adult outreach I direct. These won't work if you're on mobile, but you can get the links in the description below. I'm Pete Burak, and I will see you next week. God bless. Really random things. Who knew? Saint Friar was a hermit. Okay. Shall we begin? Pope Saint Cornelius.
There you go.
That's his name.